O, i niech ci chuju zdjęcie zrobią i później będzie, kurwa. Że pojebani na tym.
Przyjebie mu.
Tu jest kamera! Bójcie się!
O, już kiebały, już jest Bryja dostał. Pięknie.
Let's look at our history here. So in 2022, we had very high prices. You see, during the context of the start of the Russian aggression in Ukraine, that Ukraine war with Russia, we have prices spiked to 120 a barrel, and they were up there for a long time, higher than they are even in this war. And during that 2022 timeframe, in yellow, we see that, well, demand kicked back a little bit, but then kept up, and fundamentally, demand in 2022 went up. And then in 2023, it continued going up. Why? Why did demand continue going up in 2023? Because oil's an awesome substance, and prices went down. Prices and demand, prices and demand. That's a relationship. And they're not allowing that to happen. You can see here, they've been keeping the prices heavily contained. As I woke up this morning, it was in the low 90s here in the United States, way too low. So we're going to ship a lot of our product to the rest of the world, which is going to say, hey, I'll buy that. And then you know what happens? Later on, our prices go through the roof in the United States. This is the situation. This is where we are right now. It's a ticking clock. There's so much more to unpack here. Head on over to peakprosperity.com for the full story, premium insights, and an incredible community discussion. See you there. Full 10 years of data, and here's 2026, and it is plummeting down and is now, just this last week, just poked right below this, so it is now the lowest it's been in 10 years. Gasoline inventories in the United States, the lowest they've been in 10 years. Now, why is your gas prices going up? Why do you see $4.29, $4.49, $5, depending on where you live, $7 if you're in California? Why do you see those prices? Because our inventories are dwindling. Why are our inventories dwindling? Because we're sending them all over the world. Why are we sending them all over the world? Because we've set the price too low in the United States. Somebody is monkeying with our oil market, making the price low. When prices are low, demand stays high. The only way you make demand meet supply is you let prices rise. But we're not allowing that. So a lot of people are commenting about this. This is the Carlyle Group. Think what you will of them. I know I have my own opinions, but Carlyle's Jeff Curry says this recently on a very well-publicized interview.
When do storage tanks run empty?
Your parts of the world, like Australia, Philippines, Thailand, you are. But the question is when and where. I still say the review, it's going to be, sometime in the month of May that you're going to end up with Europe hitting tank bottoms, and in the U.S., it's somewhere in that July 4th time period. If not sooner, by the way, the inventories number coming out of the U.S., the ones we got last night, the ones last week, I've never seen anything like that before. And I think that it's important to remember that these inventory numbers, let's define terms, a deficit versus a shortage. We have a deficit today, meaning that demand is above supply and we're drawing inventories. It's not a shortage yet. So to answer your question, you have the shortages in places like, Asia, and it's not that bad yet because you're not completely at tank bottoms. But in places like Europe and the United States, you're in a deficit and you don't hit the shortages until you hit tank bottoms.
Tank bottoms, that's what we're heading towards, and we're actually screaming towards it at this point in time. There's so much more to unpack here. Head on over to peakprosperity.com for the full story, premium insights, and an incredible community discussion. See you there.
Who knows the news before it drops? Tell me who shorts the oil before it flops? Tell me who sits in the White House and bets on the war? The president's son. Yeah, that's the score. Donnie Jr., the advisor up to betting jams. Calcium poly market ain't no compliance. He holds the strings while daddy drops the tweet. Crude oil crashes, the family's alive. Jared Kushner version of the son-in-law with the golden touch. Epstein file, shorty played too much. Now both of them deep in the prediction game. Every war headline brings another million in the frame. Who knows the news before it drops? Tell me who shorts the oil before it flops? Tell me who sits in the White House and bets on the war? The president's son. Yeah, that's the score. Daddy in the Oval says peace is near. Oil shorts place the profits appear. 20 minutes later the Strait is open wide. Someone knew before who's the inside guy. Junior's got 2 seats at 2 different tables. One goes up, the other goes down. He's never in fables. The family company truth predictors on the why. Now the public gets to gamble while the sharks get paid. A soldier got arrested for 100,000 wounds. Classified info, now his freedom's doomed. But the son of the president, he's an advisor. Same crime, different name, that's the liar's miser. Abby Phillip called it insider trading with the mask. Congress banned itself from betting, but they won't even ask why the man who owns the casino writes the rules, why the public plays the fool. That's the score. Who knows the news before it drops? Tell me who shorts the oil before it flops? Tell me who sits in the White House and bets on the war? The president's son. Yeah, that's the score. First it was money, now it's blood and fire. A soldier in a cell, Junior's still alive. Democrats and Republicans both saying no, but nobody touches the family, that's the truth world. Holly marketing cows, she's still printing cash. The only one punished is the soldier who dashed. The ones who built the casino, they're in the security meet. Daddy tweets, oil drops another family tree. So who knew before the news? The guy with the cucumber support. Trump is business, baby.
Even in Reuters at this point, this article from May 6th, they are saying that the oil supply shock is set to worsen as inventories fall further, even if the conflict ends. Here's the important point. Even if the conflict ends, there's all this damage in the Gulf, which has led to a reduction in energy and energy product output, as well as other things. Things like helium, aluminum, sulfur, sulfuric acid, etc. Each of those, a crisis all on its own. Put them together, you've got a big mess. Now, that mess is going to take a long time to unravel. As they say here, in this Reuters report, oil inventories and emergency reserves are already rapidly depleting. It raises the risk of supply shortages, which is a fancy way of saying super expensive energy price spikes. Executives all over the place. We've got oil executives, we've got analysts, we've got major banks all warning the same thing, that the full impact of the Strait of Hormuz closure is not yet been felt. It's coming. And there's lag effects. Okay, we've talked about those before. Analysts are now expecting higher prices and volatility, both of which are ways of saying prices are going to go a lot higher, and they may spike up. And seasonal demand is about to rise. The summer driving season is coming. And what else we got going on? Well, buffers are fading. What buffers? In the United States, those buffers happen to be inventories. We have 2 kinds of inventories: commercial inventories and strategic inventories. That's the strategic petroleum reserve. I call it the strategic political reserve because it is being released not strategically for petroleum reasons, but for political reasons. Just this past week, more huge draws of inventories reported by the United States. I think these numbers are going to have to be revised upwards. I think somebody was padding them a little bit on the government side. Just an idea. So 2 million barrels of crude out the window, 2.5 million barrels of gasoline out the window, distillates, which is diesel fuel, another 1.3 million barrels out the window, gone. Cushing, which is one of our main repositories for commercial supplies, down 648,000 barrels there. There's so much more to unpack here. Head on over to peakprosperity.com for the full story, premium insights, and an incredible community discussion. See you there.
Turn the television off for a minute. Listen to regular people talking in kitchens, garages, factories, gas stations. People tired of hearing one story from politicians and another story from their own eyes. It's This ain't about left or right. It's about trust. And a whole lot of Americans feel like they lost it.
They say freedom, but people feeling lost.
Yeah.
They say truth, but files stay locked in drawers.
Every week another headline, another war. Meanwhile, working people can't afford to store.
And everybody asking what we fighting for.
What happened to no more wars?
What happened to protecting the poor?
Now the whole country looking unsure. Yeah. People watched Epstein die and never got clear answers. Years later, the question's still getting bigger. Millions of pages, names blacked out, documents missing. And Americans wondering who got protected. Polls showing most people think information still hidden. Not conspiracy pages, regular citizens. Republicans, Democrats, independents.
Everybody feeling like
Something incomplete. Then suddenly every channel talking about Iran. Missiles, threats, breaking news banners every night. And some Americans started connecting timing. Because the Epstein story was growing fast before the war. That's not a foreign talking point. That's what ordinary people online been saying themselves. Congressmen saying it publicly. Podcasters asking why the story disappeared overnight. Trump said no more endless wars during campaigns. A lot of people believed him because they were exhausted. 20 years of Afghanistan. Iraq still haunting military families. Veterans coming home broken while contractors got rich. Then another conflict starts. And people asking what changed. Joe Rogan questioned it openly, saying people still don't fully understand why it happened. And whether the public got the full truth, that matters. Because millions trusted those promises.
working class voters.
Trusted those promises.
Factory towns trusted those promises.
Now confusion spreading through the same communities.
And while regular people arguing online,
Groceries rising,
rent rising,
insurance rising,
people working overtime just to survive.
parents skipping meals so kids can eat properly. Meanwhile, television debates feel disconnected
From reality,
because regular Americans worry about bills first.
freedom.
Ну, фактически пока посредниками являются только Соединенные Штаты, и это вот рабочий процесс, рабочий формат. Очевидно, что европейцы не хотят и не могут становиться посредниками. Более того, они сейчас фактически напрямую участвуют в войне на стороне Киевского района и скорее являются апологетами идеи нанесения сокрушительного удара России, сокрушительного поражения России. Конечно, с таким подходом претендовать на посредничество вряд ли приходится.
First trick, borrow oil from tomorrow. Yeah. Second, print the money, drown the street. Yeah. Third, send the bombs for BB's feast. Yeah. 3 tricks to hide the beast. Yeah. 3 tricks. 3 tricks. 3 tricks. Yeah. Yeah. Street is closed, 2 months gone. No shipping to out, gas price high. People scream, what's this all about? Strategic reserve, that's a loan, not a gift. Companies borrow crude, futures gonna shift. 28% interest, pay you back plus more. When the loan is due, watch the market hit the floor. Second trick, Fed goes buying bonds all day. Call it OMO, fake cash, a pip parade. M2 money hit the record, inflation's on the rise. Wall Street's doing cartwheels, but your wallet cries. Printing dollars out of thin air, that's the game. When the bubble bursts, they'll only have themselves to blame. Third trick, billions to Israel, bombs and fire. Apache helicopters, Iron Dome, higher and higher. 106 billion package, Ukraine, Gaza, Israel too. Humanitarian, yeah, right, that's just the crew. Every bomb they drop, your gas price climbs. 3 tricks running, but they're running out of time. What happens when the oil loan is due? Boom, inflation, collapse, and your wallet turns to glue. No oil left to borrow, no money left to print. Just a burning empire and a tweet from a clown prince. Wake up! America, the beast is real.
Take
at you, I don't understand. Why you let the people down and make them feel so grand? You flood the world with AI pics of yourself on the cross, stealing the holy spotlight, turning faith into your boss. Antichrist, superstar, do you think you're who they say you are? Antichrist, superstar, Pope versus Trump, this is the final war. You fight with the Pope and pretend you're the light. Antichrist, is that what you are? I am the chosen one. Look at the crowds I get, bigger than Jesus ever was, don't you forget. Red hats in the millions, screaming my holy name. I'm bringing back the glory, I'm rewriting the game. Full prophet, charlatan in a suit. I'm the light, I'm the truth, I'm the absolute. Antichrist, superstar, do you think you're who they say you are? Antichrist, superstar, history's laughing at this sight. You fight with the Pope and pretend you're the light. Antichrist, Antichrist, superstar. Jesus Christ, or Antichrist, superstar.
Most of his money is from out of state, and it's from people who prioritize Israel over the American people. I'm kind of shocked to see that his challenger is rising in the polls. In fact, yesterday, for the first time, there was one poll that showed that he not only closed Massey's lead, but he has now, passed Massey in the polling. And so what this communicates to us is that our elections and our so-called democracy isn't real, right? That moneyed interests are the ones who control everything. They get to decide who they elect. And a lobby that is far more concerned with a foreign country has more power than ordinary Americans who live in and care about this country. So we really, I am terrified that he's going to beat Massey in the primary, not only because I think it's unfair to Massey, who's a principled politician, a unicorn, really, when you think about it. I'm worried that this is going to disenfranchise voters to a point where they're just not going to participate in any election. And then what? And then what happens, right? So I just don't know how to solve this other than calling for a constitutional amendment that takes money out of politics.
کشتیم چرا که بودنمان وابسته به نبودن دیگران بود. اصلا ما مستحق کشتنیم. دستها را بستیم چرا که آزادی تنها برای ماست و این ماییم که حق داشتن آزادی را برای جهان مرزبندی می‌کنیم. ما بعد از ویرانی کامل یک شهر به مادرانشان اجازه به دنیا آوردن فرزندانی سالم را ندادیم. اصلاً چرا باید جنگل‌های دشمنانمان سبز باشد و مزارعشان پربار تا شکم مردمانشان را سیر کنند؟ چرا تا به حال گذاشته این مردانی با دمپایی در برابر چکمه‌های ما مقاومت کنند؟ نمیدانم چه کسی به مردمان فلسطین گفت که اینها حق زندگی کردن دارند. از کی تا به حال کشوری در جریان تاریخ جرأت مخالفت با ما را داشته است؟ از کی تا به حال ما انقدر حقیر شدیم که سربازانمان باید یک دست لباس زیر اضافه با خود بیاورند؟ ما قرنهای متمادی از هومانیسم گفتیم و آخر همان فراتر از انسان با شنهای بیابانش به مسخره کردن نشست. اما راستش را بخواهید ما مثل مردمان مکه معجزه هم ببینیم باور نمی‌کنیم. بگذارید دزدی من را بکنیم.
بگذارید به هر کشوری به هر بهانه‌ای که می‌خواهید حمله کنید. اما خب آدمی دیگه خسته میشم. آخر جنگ برای ما صرفاً بهانه است. راستش را بخواهید خیلی زود دلمان برای دختر بچه‌های اپستین تنگ می‌شود. شما بگویید دلیلی مهمتر از این برای جنگ سراغ دارید؟
Skywalker strikes first. AI grave, pick orange slug in the dirt.
Donald J. Trump, 1946 to 24.
If only stamped on that fat hut's door.
Live long enough to watch your midterms explode.
Impeached, convicted, humiliated, case closed.
Hashtagged on the con, history's gonna spit on your name.
You bloated crime lord in the house of pain. Empire strikes back.
Sick individual, they scream.
3 assassination tries, your post fueled the dream. Hamill claps back.
I don't want you dead, just destroyed. Accountable for every crime, you disgusting void.
If only. Fuck Jabba Trump.
Jedi burn, watch that slug take the dump.
If only. Jabba Trump in the ground.
Hear that slimy orange hut make the dying sound.
Fuck Jabba Trump.
Jabba Trump.
Jabba Trump.
If only the throne room falls.
Bib Fortuna, cronies licking boots in the West Wing. Salacious Grum tweeting lies, same old thing. White House rapid response, foaming at the mouth, calling Luke radical.
While the truth heads south.
You play the victim card with blood on your hands, but the real job is the one giving orders and commands. Leia broke your chains once.
Now Luke's back with the post.
The if only grave is the ultimate roast.
Jabba the Hutt with the spray tan glow. Greedy, bloated, running the whole damn show. But the force is rising, the rebels are woke. One blue sky post and your palace is smoke.
If only. Fuck Jabba Trump.
Skywalker post, make that fat slug jump.
If only. Live long enough to lose.
Disgraced in the history books, you pathetic excuse.
Fuck Jabba Trump.
Jabba Trump.
Viral forever.
If only. Jabba's down.
If only.
If only.
If only.
If only.
Jabba Trump.
If only.
Blocks. You said blow them off the earth. Now your ships cannot even move. Try to pass but you got blocked. Biggest fleet on the planet got blocked. Project Freedom straight up got blocked. Straight for shot, you are blocked. Talk so tough, now you are blocked. Cannot move an inch, you are blocked. Blocked. Army straight 400 meters wide. Every single ship that you sent got denied. Said you wiped them off the face of earth. Now your whole armada's got zero worth. Fleet came heavy, banners flying high. Left with nothing but the ocean dry. Could not break through, could not find a way. I ran, held the line and they made you pay. 70 days, circle in the same water. Can I push it forward? Can I push no harder? From unconditional surrender to let us sit. From 30 days or else to please just quit. Warships idle, engines going cold. All the muscle talk is getting old. Biggest navy sitting still, can I pass a test? I ran at the gate, said today is not for rest. Blocked, try to pass but you got blocked. Every single route is blocked. project freedom had a movie name, turned into something they could not claim. 24 hours, that was all she wrote, could not even get the operation afloat. Rubio on the mic with a nervous smile, trying to explain why the shits have been a pile. Gas prices rising, people getting mad while the strongest military looking sad. Ceasefire signed and broke by the dawn, every promise that you made is gone. Satellites up there catching every frame, showing all the damage that you tried to tame. Got blocked by a country that you called weak, now the whole world sees the truth that you could not speak. Biggest mouth in history ran into a wall. The loudest threat became the smallest fall. Block, block. Biggest fleet got blocked, block, block, block. Face of the earth, but you got block, 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 block. History writes it down, you got block, 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 block.
In the name of the brave, from across the ocean, we see you. But the women who burn their hijabs and danced in the streets of 22. But the youth who rose again in 2025 against hunger and chains. But my Iranian sisters and brothers facing drones and blackouts today. But the dreams crushed by poverty, while the powerful steal the oil away. But the fear when loving, when kissing, when simply being free. But changing the rotten minds that have poisoned a nation for decades. But the children who deserve a normal life, not this endless tyranny. But the polluted air, the dying trees, the cheetahs, and the innocent dogs. We're sorry, dear people of Iran. America elected the Dajjal once more, the deceiver who promises greatness but brings only division and war. But our hearts beat with yours, not with the regimes or the threats from afar. But Zendegi Azadi, for woman, life, freedom, the cry that echoes across the sea. We have faith in how the story goes. The Antichrist will be defeated by truth, by justice, by the Mahdi's light, as the prophets have repeated. But I know Iran will rise. But the protesters of 2026 who refuse to stay silent despite the tanks. But standing shoulder to shoulder with you from every American state. But the end of fear, for dancing in alleys, for singing loud and proud. But the day the cage breaks open and the oppressed are finally allowed. From sea to shining sea, we say, your courage lights up our darkest night. The Dajjal's time is short, the holy books foretell his fall from height. We apologize for the pain our choices cause, but we choose love over hate. Together we'll see the dawn break, Iran free at last in a better fate. But Zendegi Azadi, for every tear shed, for every life lost, for every dream denied. Faith in the victory, the darkness cannot win, the light will not be denied. But freedom for Iran. Azadi, we stand with you for
if we look at our inventories, we see here total petroleum heading down, crude oil as a singular sort of part of that inventory heading down, gasoline heading down sharply, already at the lower end of its 5-year range. These are stocks of gasoline. This is why gasoline prices are going up. Our stocks are cratering, plummeting. Pick a word. Distillates, which includes jet fuel, but also diesel, also now below the 5-year range. This is why your gasoline and diesel prices are going up, because we're running out of inventory. Why? Because we're exporting it to the rest of the world to try and keep prices down. The United States is in no position to supply the world with energy at this point in time. Some stuff, but not this stuff. Not gasoline, not diesel, not jet fuel, not crude oil. We are burning the bank balance to try and keep things stitched together for just a little bit longer. There's so much more to unpack here. Head on over to peakprosperity.com for the full story, premium insights, and an incredible community discussion. See you there. Iran has promised if they are struck again, they are going to shut down the remaining flows that are still coming out of the Strait. Out of the Gulf region. The Strait is closed, more or less, but there's this east-west pipeline taking about 7 million barrels a day out of Saudi Arabia, out to the Red Sea. Got another pipeline coming down from the UAE through Oman to the port of Fujairah. Iran has said, hey, both of those are on the table, including maybe closing the Strait at Bab al-Mandeb in the Red Sea using their Houthi friends, allies, proxies. All right, here's the issue. Bloomberg Intelligence put out this really nice graphic just the other day. We're looking here at world inventories without imports. So what do we got? So February, March, April, you can see world crude inventory goes from here to down pretty strongly. The stress level is the strategic reserves plus 15 days import cover. So we don't want to get our stockpiles below what you could reasonably import over a 15-day period. And there we have the capacity for depletion says, well, we had 3.4 billion barrels of buffer, then we had 3.2, now we have 2.18, and that gives us about 8 months of inventory to last without imports, okay, when you run the table. But that's only because the supply disruption is only 11 million barrels per day. That's what's missing right now. If we have a military resumption of kinetic activity in the Persian Gulf, and if Iran is successful in taking out the rest of those assets, which they said they would do, that 11 number jumps to 25, and then all of a sudden that 8 gets cut down to 4, and then things get really serious. There's so much more to unpack here. Head on over to peakprosperity.com for the full story, premium insights, and an incredible community discussion. See you there.
Beijing today. Ha, 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 ha. Hey. 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 Trump landed in Beijing, wheels hit the ground, Air Force One touching down with that heavy sound. But Xi didn't show up, sent the VP instead. Kids in uniforms waving flags red and white and red. Little ones on the tarmac, smiling for the show, while the big American leader stepped out real slow. The East is red, the sun is rising high. Home, tired sun. China on the move while the eagle starts to cry. Kings of the East, the old prophecies alive. America the loser, watch the dragon rise. Don't Fang Hong, Tai Young Sun, Trump takes the fall tonight. He walked down the steps, but the rumors start to spread. Scared to lose his balance, afraid to fall instead. Gripping on the railing like a bitch in the wind, while China stands tall and the red sun ascends. They call him the Antichrist, running a losing team. America in decline, living out the dream. From the ancient books, the kings come from the east. China rises strong while the west is weak. She didn't greet him, but the message came clear. The red sun is shining and the future is here. The east is red, the sun is rising high.
son. Trump takes the fall tonight. The East is red. The sun is rising. China is the king now. America's declining. Trump on the stairs, but the dragon don't care. The East is winning. The West in despair. Home from home, die young son. The red sun keeps rising. Little Marco, bark for your master. Netanyahu's good dog, tail wagging faster. Marco, whole government is an Epstein regime. You just a pedo protector. Marco, you bark on cue. Trump says jump, you ask our high boss who. Used to diss Trump hard, called him a con and a liar. Flip flopper, now you kiss the ring and call it empire. 2016, you said the man ain't fit, now you carry his bag. That's it. Trump keeps you close enough to use, far enough he never lose. You see it yet? Secretary of State, but they kick you off the call. Bro finds out from CNN like the rest of y'all. You looked America dead in the face. Promised oversight, promised grace, but Epstein's files stay sealed. The donors stay in place. Funny how that work, taking U.S. tax dollars just to fund the genocide. Lobby checks inside your pocket, you can't run and hide. Whole planet hating BB for the slaughter in the graves, while he bragging how he's bagging what the U.S. workers say. Little Marco, bark for your master. Woof, woof. Netanyahu's good dog, tail wagging faster. Marco, whole government is an Epstein regime. You just a pedo protector. Marco, you bark on cue. Trump says jump, you ask our high boss who. Marco, robot to robot answers in every debate. Late, little Marco tag still stings like 08 fate. 2028 dreams, nah, that's his son's lane. You're the backup dancer, never the main. Covering Trump's dirt with that polished grin. Mopping up scandals, where's your own win? 168 kids on day one, you remember that? Don't look away. You smoothed it over, pressed your tie, and never look back. Now you crying to the UN, they can't stop Iran stealing our catchphrase, man, you sound like a moron. The audacity. You always break the rules every day across the map. Not the bully playing victim, boy, shut your little trap. Keep the name Iran out your tiny little mouth. Choke on it, that word is way too heavy for your jaw. It's going south. Americans standing behind Iran like never seen, screaming free us from the Epstein regime. Against pedophile administration, that bloodthirsty Zionist killing machine.
The other ticking clock in the story, of course, would be Trump's approval ratings. And, listen, all polls are a little bit suspect, but Trump pays attention to them. So look at this. These two right here, the yellow and the blue, that's cost of living approval in the tank, gas prices approval in the tank, and heading down fast. And those two numbers are going to drag his other numbers down. Trump cares about that a lot. Now, we hear a lot about oil in this story and because of gas prices, but there's another gas in this story, and that would be liquefied natural gas. And on that front, LNG shipped approximately 10 million tons less than it normally would during April. So you see that little red box right there? That's the most recent reading. It just came in at just about 33 million 33 million tons shipped. Now, let's put that in context. This is a very seasonal number, so we should compare April to April. So we are now comparing the April number there to the April of 2024 and April of 2025. You can see that April of 2025 is higher than April of 2024. That's the series. The world has been shipping more and more liquefied natural gas. It's used in all kinds of processes, from making fertilizer to electricity, industrial processes, you name it. Very vital substance. And if we look at this, we say, wow, here's where we came in down here. This is obviously heading the wrong direction. It should be going this way. Where would it have been if it had been following that same green arrow? It would have been up here somewhere in the 43 million tons range-ish. And so we could say, wow, we're missing about 10 million tons of LNG not shipped. Now, you heard Jeff Curry say, hey, we've got supply here, but demand is here. How do you get supply and demand in line? Really, there's only one way to get those two things in line, and that's prices. Prices have to rise to a level so that demand gets pinched off. You make the decision not to drive to the store. You decide not to take the vacation. Somebody decides not to ship that inferior product all over across the country in a diesel truck. Whatever the decisions are, prices are the way those decisions get met. There's so much more to unpack here. Head on over to peakprosperity.com for the full story, premium insights, and an incredible community discussion. See you there.
The straits on mine, ships backed up heavy, that's a bad headline. They said, sir, be careful, I said, watch me go. I run the pressure game, I just steal the show. 48 hours, yeah, I set the clock. You either open up or I rock the dock. People call it risk, I call it a deal. Big moves only, that's just how I feel. Open the strait, or I will. Big ships moving, you know the drill. Push one button, overkill. Nobody does it like me. Nobody will. Nobody open the strait. Be smart, you don't want the second part. Lights go out, engine stop. When I go big, I hit the top. I hit the top. Oh, they talk tough online. Yeah, I've seen it before, but they fall real quick when I raise the score. All caps typing, yeah, I mean every word. Say it loud enough, the whole world's heard. Ella sitting quiet, I call him out. If you're not with me, what's that about? I say we're winning, and I repeat, turn the pressure up, feel the heat. Open the strait, oh I will. Big ships moving, you know the drill. Push one button, overkill. Nobody does it like me. Nobody will. Nobody open the strait. Be smart, you don't want the second part. Lights go out, engine stop. When I go big, I hit the top. I hit the top. Tick tock, clock don't wait. I decide the final stage. Say my name, dominate every move. I escalate. They said no. I said watch, flip the switch, tight in the notch. World stage, stand the spot. I take everything. You go open the strait, or I will. Big ships moving, you know the drill. Push one button, overkill. Nobody does it like me. Nobody will. Nobody open the strait. Be smart, you don't want the second part. Lights go out, engine stop. When I go big, I hit the top. Open the strait, or I will. Big ships moving, you know the drill. Push one button, overkill. Nobody does it like me. Nobody will. Nobody open the strait. Be smart, you don't want the second part. Lights go out, engine stop. When I go big, I hit the top. I hit the top. I hit the top.
Listen up! Straight out of Iran! Straight out of Iran! Yeah. He called it the Strait of Iran. Big talk, big threat, then he tackled man. Yeah. Trump always chickens out, that's the plan. Straight out of Iran! Hey, hey! Straight out of Iran! Logged on true social law caps, feeling bold. Iran just opened the Strait of Iran. Story told. Homer's never heard of it. Map on the floor. Threatening bombs and he head for the door. Markets crashing, oil prices on fire. World holding breath, waiting for the empire. 24 hours later, ceasefire deal signed. Taco Supreme, same move every time. Straight out of Iran. Straight out of Iran. He called it the Strait of Iran. Talk big threat, then he taco man. Trump always chickens out, that's the plan. Straight out of Iran. Hey, hey. Borders, Greenland, terror
Iran, patterns the same. Big speech, then he's gone. Talk like a gangster, fold like a dove. One tweet, thunder, next tweet, he's in love. Red line drawn, then he erase it quick. King of the deal? Nah. King of the flip? Strait of Hormuz? Nah. He said Strait of Iran. Taco in the White House. That's the bread. T-A-C-O. Taco. Trump always chickens out. Yo. T-A-C-O. Taco. Watch it fall right now. Straight out of Iran. Straight out of Iran. He called it the Strait of Iran. Big mouth, no follow through. That's the man. Trump always chickens out. Yes, he can. Straight out of Iran. Straight out of Iran.
Gunboat shadow tankers in the narrow blue. One spark could cut 20% of the world in two. Ceasefire whispers fade as the blockade takes hold. MV Tusker disabled, her engines growing cold.
Ticking closer, no time left to lose. Tensions rising, words ignite across the wires. Warning shots echo as the stakes climb higher.
USS Bruins fires on the engine room tonight. Marion's fast dropping from the Tripoli in the fight. Hormuz horizon, ships turn back. Skies fade to black. Jet fuel running dry. There's no turning back. Lufthansa grounded. KLM feels the strain.
Ryanair feels the sting. Empty terminals whisper through the rain. If the conflict burns on, shaped by order's hands. Global forces pull strings while the people make their stand. Your wings in the air, the world begins to unfurl. Madman at the wheel, driving us from this world. And the prices rise while the orders fly. Oil climbing higher, Brent near 96 once more. Europe counts the hours, 6 weeks of kerosene left in store.
Refineries fall quiet, trucks stall in the glow. One narrow strait decides how far the whole world goes. Food shelves growing empty, cargo reroutes round the Cape. A calculated game, turning crisis into shape.
This is the brink, history's final choice.
The greatest shock the modern world has ever known. IEA warns of crisis deeper than seeds already sown.
From Chabahar to the Gulf of Oman, the seas you made it clear. Iran calls it on piracy, retaliation draws near. Dual-use cargo suspected, the ship now in U.S. hands. Talks collapse.
and the spider keeps weaving tighter every day.
Then the shortages deepen when the shelves run fully bare. Medicine disappears, hospitals fill with quiet despair.
Blackouts sweep the cities, factories fall to dust. Riots spark in shadows as the final chains combust.
Winter brings a colder dark with no fuel left to burn. Fields lie empty, children learn what hunger means in turn.
Those who hog the last reserves watch the masses come apart. This energy war etches scars forever on the heart.
And it's all unraveling beneath their careful game. Years unfold in silence if the strait stays closed too long. Economies unravel, supply lines break and gone.
Schools shut down forever, hospitals lose their light. Nations turn on neighbors in the never-ending night.
Globalists reshape the map while the old world fades away, profiting from the chaos in the breaking of the day.
Famine spreads like wildfire, migration floods the shore. Civilization fractures, what was built crumbles to the floor.
Madman tweets thunder while the world holds its breath.
Hormuz horizon, ships turn back, skies fade to black, jet fuel running dry. There's no turning back. Airlines cut their routes, grounded dreams ignite. Summer slowly turns to ashes in the endless night. If the conflict burns on, shaped by reckless hands, global forces take hold while the old world slowly stands. No wings in the air, the world begins to unfurl.
Madman at the wheel, driving us from this world. What if the tanks run empty and the lights all fade to black? No flights across the oceans, no simple way to turn back. Cities slow then crumble, anger rises in the street. From distant orders to the silence at our feet, words like distant thunder, threats of worlds undone, pawn against pawn beneath the rising sun. USS Splint fires on the engine room, Marines fast roping from the Tripoli. MV Tuska now in US custody, could become spoils of war. Iran calls it armed piracy, blatant aggression, we will respond. Europe has maybe falls silent from the sky. Before the last city flickers out and says goodbye.
Before the final chain snap and we lose all that we built, let the warmongers step back, let wiser voices tilt.
Open the strike once more, let the tankers freely flow. Before the fragile world we share collapses from the blow. One planet deeply connected, too precious to destroy. Choose peace above all else. It's our only path of joy. Hormuz horizon, let the healing light begin. Ceasefire now, before the end sets out. Hormuz horizon, peace in the strait, where we all fall in.